Hi everybody, welcome to Live After 5, Maria here. So in the last week I've actually spoken to a good few landlords and there seems to be a good bit of confusion about the changes with the RPZ and also the whole idea, I suppose, of a tenant having an indefinite term in a property. So I just said I'd come on and explain a few things to everybody, and this, information is useful for tenants and landlords. So December last year, as you know, perhaps the RPZ, so if you have a property that's in a rent pressure zone, there was some legislation changes made. And now when you do a rent review, once market conditions justify it, you can apply a 2% increase, maximum increase per annum. That's if your property is within the rent pressure zone, also known as the RPZ. Now, a lot of confusion's out there with landlords because also the legislation is changing whereby a tenant can have an indefinite term. So after 6 months, and regardless if they have a fixed term lease for you, if you forgot to give them lease, or if they have a long term lease, some landlords give out leases with several years in them. Once the property is the tenant is in place in the property for 6 months, yes, they will have an indefinite term in the property. Now, some landlords were getting quite worried about that because for some, it may be their own family home they're renting out. They could be going away for a couple of years, or they may need to sell the property in the future as well. So the current legislation will still allow you to give notice, valid notice to a tenant if you're going to sell, move into the property, or if you have to do substantial renovation works. Now, substantial renovation works, it's not kind of painting or putting in new floors. It really is kind of like rewiring, replumbing, the whole house, knocking walls. It's really, I suppose, a large amount of work. So that is what I was trying to explain. So yes, they do have an indefinite term, but as a landlord, you can still give notice for one of those reasons. And so once a tenant is in a property for 6 months, they do have an indefinite time that they can stay on the property. Now, another thing just to be aware of, if you're a landlord and you might be thinking, oh, well, next year I'm moving back into my own house, it's rented at the moment. Check out when your tenant first rented the property, because some tenants are entitled to 90 days notice if they're there for less than, if they're only there a year or two, it might be 90 days. But if they're there for 7 or 8 years, they could be entitled to up to 8 months notice, and time passes fast. The amount of landlords I meet, and I'd say, well, when did your tenant move in? They go, 3 years ago. And then when they go and check it, it could be 8 years ago. So the length of time determines the notice. So just keep an eye on those things as well. And if you need any advice from us or any assistance, just send us a direct message on this page. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great evening.